Dear students, this is Venkatachalapathi, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. I would like to explain the importance of the welding process and how do you attempt the questions in examination point of view. Either it may be short-term questions or long answer questions, some creative thinking questions. How do you attempt this, what you call the topic 3 welding process, where you can able to understand the concept and the necessary diagrams and its advantages, limitations and applications. Now let us see what is the importance of this welding to attempting in the university examination. So coming to this name of the topic covered, the discussion on our question bank is welding process. Okay, so as I discussed earlier, the term welding can be defined as it is the process of joining two similar or dissimilar metal by application of pressure, without application of pressure, by adding filler metal, without adding filler metal. So the main learning outcome of this topic welding is the knowledge in thermal and metallurgical aspects is very important. Thermal and metallurgical aspects during welding for defect-free manufacturing component. Your ultimate aim is to manufacture defect-free, flawless components. So that you need to theoretically you should strong rather than you should do the practically. How do you perform the various type of welding? Then only the student can able to understand the usage of the welding process. And finally, after completion of this course manufacturing process, you students the categorize various defects and shortcomings during gas welding operation such as TIG welding, MIG welding, spot welding, etc. for real-time applications. So in previous course, I explained in this topics and all about what is the different type of welding and classification and how we can able to do that welding process for real life applications. Also very important. A student after completion of that course, he or she should able to do the some real life applications, any joining of two metals or similar metals and in construction field and any manufacturing missions, etc. There also it will place an important role. So even though we have studied a lot of manufacturing process, in that the term welding is a secondary process. So whatever manufactured in the primary process, even that process should be due for a secondary process such as fabrication or joining of two similar or dissimilar metals. So here either is a mechanical engineering student or automobile engineering or aeronautical engineering student, here should be able to do the real life welding process by considering safety precautions and a lot of what you call you should be able to know the how do you perform welding with the safely and also to quality a component it can able to produce flawless component should be produced. Now let us see the how do you answer the short answer questions. So in general, in any subject there will be objective questions or fill in the blanks or 1 mark or 2 mark, etc. But by seeing the question itself, you should strike in your mind how do you explain. Either it is a one word sentence or 2 word sentence, and either you require some diagrammatic representation. This is also very important because manufacturing process is a purely theoretical subject. But parallelly, if you wanted to add some problem orientation also in welding, also a lot of problems are there in order to calculate the duty cycle time and how we can able to determine the heat generated in the resistance welding for I square RT. If you know the current and resistance and time, you can easily calculate the heat generated. So like that, this formulas also we have discussed. H is equal to I square RT. In this relation, any one missing parameter is there, you need to solve the problem. But even sometimes they may ask in the short-term questions also relative to that particular concept. Okay, so let us see the what is the use of flux in welding. These are some important short answer questions. What is the use of flux in welding? So look at when the diagrammatic representation, how the flux coated electrode will forming in a droplet form. So that arc will form in a droplet, that core flux coated electrode. Whenever the electrode is there, you should coat it with the some fluxes and some of the adding the chemicals to have the proper heating and mixing of the uh, components in a effective joining. Okay, so that is why this what is the usage of the flux in order to cover proper joint and the metal to be solidified effectively with respect to the base metal. So this is why that flux importance you can add even with the help of the diagram also you can able to represent. And another question is write a short note on a butt welding. So here there are so many type of welding is there. Either it is a flash butt welding. Okay, you can see butt welding means lap welding and butt welding. So there will be two pieces. This we can say that butt welding. Lap means one over the other. This is called lap welding. This is butt welding. So some flash may occur, it is a flash butt welding. Okay, offset butt welding. So like that, different type of subdivided also will be there. But here, if you represent in a direct technical word, answer is suitable. If not, if necessary, line diagrams also you can draw so that you can easily understand the examiner to get good marks. And another important question is list out minimum 6 type of welding process. Even the classification itself, a lot of solid state welding, liquid state welding, and other special type of welding process. Simply you can say that welding means either it is a pressure welding or fusion welding. So there are two basic type, and let us see some of the classification of welding means arc welding process. Okay, so in that arc welding, TIG welding, tungsten inert gas arc welding, metal inert gas arc welding. Okay, and some other things, electro slag welding. Okay, and so some and when you coming to the gas welding, oxyacetylene gas welding. Okay, oxyhydrogen gas welding, like that lot of processes are there. They also list out minimum 6 type of welding process. There are more than 20 or 25 type of welding process. Still it is a research is going on to differentiate, to determine a new welding process also with advanced laser type and some advanced type of weldings also is available. Some okay, so based on that you can mention the list, and if required you can write a skeleton line diagrams. Sometimes it is useful, otherwise don't you can mention the types of any 6 type of welding process. And coming to this, write a short note on the symbol of weld. So weld symbol is a very interesting topic. So weld symbols, so there are some stud type, plug type, weld symbols is there. Okay, so weld symbols too, that is V type and U type, J type. Okay, so different type of symbols are there, symbols. Okay, so field weld. Okay, field weld. So like that, so many type of the symbols are already I have discussed the symbols of weld in one video, and so that you can refer in that video, you can clearly understand the what are the various symbols are available in a welding process, and each symbol perform different type of application based on the usage and utilization of the two pieces. Okay, so that is another important thing. And also list out the sources of energy, so or thermal energy or electrical energy or chemical energy, which type of energy is used to welding. Okay, so this way either DC or AC. Okay, or sometimes some other sources of that molten metal, especially in the thermite welding process, they can use the some chemical composition, iron oxide and aluminum powder also will be mixed together, will form that welding. So like that, if you discuss means the specifically you can write the answer. Okay, and what is the use of filler metal in welding? So obviously it is a fusion welding process. In general, how the fusion welding process can be explained. So there will be a, so you can see the uh, table and above that base metal and how they can perform. Okay, with the help of the electrode process, electrode and a torch. Okay, so there two pieces table, how will perform. Okay, so that filler rod contains, the electrode rod contains a lot of filler to be used depending upon their application and usage of the metal. Okay, and also define the carburizing flame and give its ratio. So the name itself carburizing flame, which contains carbon. Okay, so carbon, so if it is the excessive, uh, so this is acetylene is more C2H2, so carbon content. Okay, the carburizing flame comes under the gas welding process, in that the three flames are available. One is the oxidizing flame, oxidizing flame. Second one is carburizing flame, carburizing flame. Third one is neutral flame, neutral flame. So in general, if there is excess of oxygen, excess of oxygen, we'll call it as a oxidizing flame. Excess of acetylene, which is called as carburizing flame, the percentage will be equal 1:1. So oxygen and acetylene, C2H2, is 1:1, means that is a neutral flame. So if it is excess, suppose 2:1 means it is oxidizing flame, and 2:5 is the carburizing flame. So like that, ratios also should be able to represent, and depending upon our application and usage. Okay, so like this, you can able to write some concept oriented answers only. So whenever required, if you draw the line diagrams also, it is more useful to give a good marks. Okay, and also this oxidizing flame and give it the excess of oxygen, we will call it as a that is 2:1. This is oxygen, this is C2H2, acetylene. Okay, neutral flame, that is oxygen acetylene is same ratio, that is called neutral flame. So carburizing, oxidizing. Carburizing means excess of acetylene, that is 1:3. So more acetylene, so that is called the carburizing flame. And another interesting, so this is a differentiate between TIG welding and MIG welding. So as per the, sometimes if you are not able to remember some welding technique and all, so there is a number of welding processes. So in general, the term TIG welding can be defined as tungsten inert gas arc welding. Tungsten inert gas arc welding. So here the only thing is non-consumable electrode to be used for the TIG welding. So there will be a non-consumable electrode, non-consumable electrode to be used for TIG welding, whereas MIG welding, consumable electrode to be used, consumable electrode to be used for the MIG welding. So that is the only difference between a TIG and a MIG welding. So TIG is only used for the non-consumable electrode, and MIG is used for the consumable electrode. In one word sentence you can write like this, and sometimes you can, if you wanted to draw the sketch also, the electrode in a consumable form you can put, and a non-consumable form, it is just like a metal and some strong brass type of electrode should be there that cannot consume non-consumable electrode, but the joint may be occurred due to heat and pressure. Okay, so this is what about the short answer questions. And another different type of short answers questions is let us see, you can list out to some of the important short answer questions. How do you project in a proper manner? Okay, so write the constants of electrode coating with their functions. So what are the coating of an electrode and what its function? So the coating means when you perform the welding process, the joining can be effective and the heat also will liberate it, and so that after solidification time it may be cool effectively. And what is the heat sinkage in spot welding process? In general, spot welding comes under the resistance welding. So spot welding comes under resistance welding. In the resistance welding mainly depends on I square RT principle. Heat generated is equal to current, resistance and time duration. So with this relation only arc welding. And spot welding means there are one top and bottom, both will touch together, there will be one spot. So if it is a thin sheet metals and all made up of the spot welding, so whenever by using spot welding it can able to join together effectively. And this is a spot welding. Again seam welding means continuously spot, multiple of spot you can call the seam welding. Okay, like a stitching type, the position should be in a like a stitching type, one spot continuously moving, that it will become a some seam welding. And again subdivided into resistance welding, spot welding, seam welding, projection welding, percussion welding, flash wet welding. These are the different types of resistant welding process, where which depends upon the H is equal to I square RT. And the sinkage, what is the heat sinkage in spot welding process? Whenever, so there will be one fixed jaw, movable jaw, that movable jaw touch together, and by giving some pressure it will put some spark, so that is called spot welding, so that heat can be sinked to have a joint. Okay, with the high pressure only the heat can be created and it can be joined together. So like that, what is the effect of clearance in brazing? So one interesting, so first of all, what is brazing? So as you know that there are these are the special welding process like soldering or brazing and brazing process. So these two are special welding process. The term soldering can be defined as the metals can be heated above 427 degrees centigrade, we'll call it as a soldering process. Below 427 and above 427, this is called below 427 degrees centigrade, we'll call it as a soldering. Above 427 degrees centigrade, we'll call it as a brazing process. But here the question they asked, what is the effect of clearance in brazing? So generally if you write the definition, they won't give marks. They are asking what is the effect of clearance in brazing. So that braze rod, that branch type, tip brazing, branch brazing, different type of classification of brazing techniques are there. So in that you should maintain some clearance in order to fill that filler. Okay, so that the effective jointing can be occur. Okay, so this is what you have to write exactly the technical. And what is the need of flux in brazing process? What is the need of flux in brazing process? So in general, almost all it is similar to welding. Any welding process, filler, that flux coated filler rod can be used, so that in order to have a good stability of the joining process. Okay, and what are the process variables? The explosive. So the main variables are the explosives to be used to perform the welding process, and that what are the variables which will affect that welding process. Explosive means you should take more precautions. So it is some like a bomb sound explosions are there. So it is a very particular safety precaution should be applied. Otherwise, it leads to be some problem for the welder. Okay, so even though he is an expert welder, also we should maintain certain usage of that explosives, when it will explode, and why, how much distance it will cover. You should be able to understand. So that is why we should list out the what are the process variables in an explosive welding, and also different modes of metal transfer. So look at this 3D diagram. These are the modes of metal transfer. Modes of metal transfer. So look at, instead of that, directly if you draw the sketch, directly they may give 2 marks itself. Suppose if you are not able to explain in a proper manner, you can draw the sketch so that it will give the full 2 marks. Okay, why? Because the modes of transfer when you are performing welding, so this you can see how the transfer in the arc, okay, that coated electrode arc will come out. The transfer of metal only in the form of 4 types. One is the short circuit transfer, and second one is the global transfer. Third one is spray, like a spray it will occur, spray, and last but not least, pulse transfer. So the 4 different type of transfers, which is major important in the modes of the metal transfer. Especially this may occur in the TIG welding, MIG welding process. So the metal transfer also, based on that heating and flex coated electrode to be used, so that only the transformation of the metal in a 3 different modes are, and how it will perform with a diagrammatic representation. The first short circuit you can see continuously coming, but whereas global transfer, some gap, so it is like a droplets formation, it will occur. And spray means just a sprinkle, it will sprinkle like a droplet like that, that is called the spray transfer. And the pulse, so pulse means some resistance gap like that to be used. These are the pulse transfer can be used for the different type of the metal transfer. Okay, so like this you can able to write up to the mark what is required, the answer you should supposed to write. And another thing is, how is brazing is different from welding and soldering. So here interesting, what is meant by a welding, what is meant by a brazing, and what is meant by a soldering. Yes or no? So as you know that the general, here they are asking if you write the 3 definitions. Welding definition, the term welding can be defined as, it is the process of joining two similar or dissimilar metals by adding filler, without adding filler metal, with application of pressure, without application of pressure and temperature. That is the general definition of welding. Then what is soldering? Soldering iron. So it is the process of joining two electrodes, some resistance, small electronic components with the less than 427 degrees centigrade, we will call it as a soldering. Brazing means more than 427 degrees Celsius is called the brazing. Okay, so brazing can be used to hard metals, and soldering means any joining of electron application, and in wherever the soldering is occur, that soldering even you can do in regularly. So even in any shops and even our computer assembling type also you can use that soldering techniques also. Soldering lead and soldering iron, and you can take the 2 wires to join together with the exact that holes provided. Okay, so the solder iron. Okay, like that you can able to explain this thing. And define solid state welding. So this is what the solid state welding comes under the, again what is the various importance of arc welding, gas welding, and what you call forge welding. Okay, so different type of electrodes, like these type of welds comes under the solid state welding process. And what are the main functions of a coating in a coated electrode? So to support, to resist the electrode, we can add this some coated, and it will react with the chemicals also in that metals to be used. Okay, and list out various defects caused in welding. So already I explained in a one complete presentation in welding defects. Okay, so that you can study all these type of welding defects, like porosity and short welding, some penetrated, okay, that over penetrated, okay, incomplete weld. So different type of things is there. That also what is the causes for that welding and how the remedy to be taken for the avoiding of such welding process. So these are the some important short answer questions. Coming to this, these are the long answer questions which consist of 14 marks or 20 marks question. So here the main importance is discuss the classification of welding process. First you can able to discuss like welding process. So here again divide into solid state, liquid state, solid liquid state. So like that, and special welding type of techniques. So in that again it may be subdivided into TIG welding, MIG welding, metal inert, and arc welding. Okay, so and what you call ultrasonic welding, thermite welding. So different type of weldings are there. That also you can able to explain. First, the flow diagram and each welding, what are its usages and its advantages and limitations. And sometimes you can explain some one word and two word technical definitions, because if you only mention the classification of welding means you won't get the 14 marks. You can explain wherever needed, at least 5 to 6 welding process you can explain clearly with the neat sketch. So even you can see the another different type of flames, explain different type of flames with a neat sketch in a gas welding process. You can see how the flames for carburizing flame, neutral flame, oxidizing flame. Excess of carbon which will lead to be carburizing, excess of oxygen which will lead to be oxidizing flame. Is to, that is both the oxygen and acetylene will be equal ratio, that we can call it as a neutral flame. You should draw the neat sketch and the coloring also, blue, red, and inner core which color, yellow color. The representation of color also very important to represent in the examination point of view. And obviously advantages, limitations, not only for oxyacetylene, some specific applications to be also here. What about the heat and what about the heat that is supply of the electrical, either AC or DC, like that you should be able to explain. And also shielded metal arc welding process with this only, some shielded metal arc inert gas welding can be explained with the neat sketch and its principle and advantages, limitations we can explain. And finally the coating in a shield metal arc welding process, you can first of all, what is coating, different type of coatings available, and what are the functions used in various welding process like shielded metal arc welding. You can explain in detail for long answer questions. Okay. So next, another interesting, this is what problem solving and creative thinking. So especially in any question paper, either it is a semester question paper or internal examination, in that 100%, 20 to 30% some creative thinking questions should be added, so that the student can able to understand different type of manufacturing process and they can apply for real world applications, real life. For example, you can see the how the rail, okay, it is, there is a problem that two rail ways, how it will detach and attach. If there is a problem in that, it is a lot of damage to the society. That's why you should take care. You can test this thermite welding is one of the most important process to use it in the application of a rail application. Okay, and list these are the some important creative thinking questions. Classify different reasons of oxyacetylene flame with the help of neat sketches. Explain their characteristics. Here also, first you can define the term welding and different types of welding process. In that they are given specify oxyacetylene welding in that different three flames. you can clearly draw the oxyacetylene flame and carburizing flame and neutral flame. All the and its characteristics also should be explained clearly, and state the purpose of thermite welding. Where would you recommend it and why? So you can see this is a creating. Suppose everybody they know the diagram and they can develop clearly, but where would you recommend it is? It is in a railway applications. The thermite mixture, which consisting of, it is a pyrotechnic composition of metal powder, fuel and metal oxide, that is aluminum powder and metal oxide Fe2O3, they can that called the thermite mixture. So the thermic mixture question comes under the 2 marks question, okay, a short answer question, so it may get, but theoretical means first you write clearly the principle of thermite welding and how it will work, the constructional features, and need to sketch. This is a three-dimensional fig, not required, like a metal pouring and a riser runner gate form should be there. In that setup in a line diagram, you can do it. And advantages, limitations, and applications majorly that they have specified. Where would you recommend? The thermite welding is recommended for only railway applications, wherever the tracks is there, any damage in the track, they can able to join effectively in this thermite welding process. So similarly, why cleaning of metal is important for successful resistance welding. So if you're not cleaning that metal piece due to rust formation, some defects may be occur. Okay, some defects again you have to take remedy. So that is why that importance also very important. Whatever the piece you should clean first, then you can do for the welding. And explain the effect of thermal conductivity, thermal expansion. So whenever the welding means it is a heat. Heat means you should remember two terms, that is thermal conductivity K. So Q is equal to minus Ka dt by dt. Okay. So that equation also you have studied in the heat transfer. Okay. That is conduction, convection, radiation. So in the thermal conductivity plays an important role. Whenever a heat can be done, how do you determine the thermal conductivity? What is the effect of the thermal conductivity perform any type of welding process? And thermal expansion also you can see in the right side diagram. So whenever due to more heat and it will expand. Even the two tracks are by seeing it is a very narrow, but it both are very same distance. It is a parallel to each other. But for expansion due to heating, it may tend to expand or shrink will be occur after performing this welding process. So that is why you can explain clearly with the beautiful applications, so that you may get good marks. And finally, why the edge preparation is required before welding, and what are the different type of edge preparation techniques. So again, here a number of techniques are available. Either it is a two plate, or either it may be some multiple holes and any problems occur. First, you should clean preparation of the edge. Filing should be done, and then where you either V joint, U joint, or J butt joint, any type of joint to be performed better in such case. So, dear students, you should be able to read the question 1 or 2 times, understand the concept. Accordingly, you can write some technical terms. Wherever needed, you can write the simple sentences with the neat diagram. So that definitely you may score good marks. Okay. So thank you for your support, and this is for the how to attempt the short questions and long term questions in your manufacturing process. The topic is welding process. Okay, thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.